everyone, welcome to lesson 24 of Conquering Algebra 2. In this lesson, we're going to be covering two concepts. We're going to talk about fractional equations. We've already talked about decimals in our equations. Now we're going to be dealing with fractions. And then the second part of this lesson is going to be dealing with triangles within triangles and how to work those proportional things out and how to solve for missing sides. So in our first part, we're talking about fractional equations. And what we have to remember is it's very similar to how we solved with decimals, where we're going to find our least common denominator and multiply the entire equation by that so we can get rid of all the denominators. So let's take a look at that with some practice. Okay, so here's our first practice problem. First step that I see is, sadly, we're no longer in 7th grade math, so we need to make these two mixed numbers into improper fractions. And I'm also seeing that we have denominators of 2, 5, and 4. And looking at the 5 and the 4, I know that the least common denominator is going to be 20. So once I am done changing these two to improper fractions, I'm going to multiply all three parts by 20. So here we have 2 times 4 plus 1, so that's going to be 9 over 2. Denominator doesn't change. X minus, I'm going to leave some space because I know I'm about to multiply something, and then 3/5, that's going to stay as is, and then this will become negative 5 over 4. Okay, and so we are going to multiply all three parts by 20 over 1, which is our least common denominator. Okay, and the reason why I did it this way is because it's okay to multiply one of our terms by something that we need to do to accomplish our goal, but I can't just do it to one term. If I'm going to do it to the first term, I have to do it to all three terms. We have to do it to everything that's in the equation to keep it balanced and to keep this a true statement. And so now here, the 2 is a 1 and 20 becomes a 10. So we have 10 times 9x, so 90x. And then here, we have a 1 and a 4, so minus, and then 4 times 3 is 12, equals, and then we reduce here, this becomes a 5, this becomes a 1, negative 25. So from here, we just solve for x. So we're going to say plus 12, so that's gone, and we get 90x equals, and then this is going to be negative 13, divide both sides by 90. Okay, and 90 and 13 cannot reduce any further. So that is it, we're done. Our answer is x equals negative 13 over 90. Okay, so our next practice problem, same situation. We need to find our least common denominator. So I have 5, 2, and 3. So it's going to be 30. That's going to be our least common denominator. Then I need to multiply all three terms by. Notice I left a little gap here so I could fit that in. And so we're going to multiply everything by 30 over 1. Sorry, that one's really small. Okay, and so in this first term, we're going to have to take our time because we're dealing with this, and I'll show you what to do with that in just a second. So this is going to become a 1, and this will be a 6. What we have to remember is that 6 is not just getting multiplied to 4x, it's also getting multiplied to plus 2 because they're all over the same denominator. So we need to mentally insert some parentheses here so we remember to distribute this 6. So it should be 24x plus 12 because we did that. Okay, and then in our second term, the 2 becomes a 1 and 30 becomes 15. So minus right here, and then 15 times 3 is 45. Equals, and then this becomes a 1, this becomes a 10, so equals 10. We can add our like terms, so this would become negative 33. And then we're going to move the 33 by adding it to this side. So we get 24x equals 43, and then divide by 24, and this can't reduce any further, so we're done. It's just going to be that. So we're done, 43 over 24. And our last practice problem for this concept, same situation, except our third term has no denominator. So we have to remember to put that over 1. And notice I still left a gap here for whenever I'm going to have to multiply something for my 7. And that's really it. as far as differences for this problem. So let's go ahead and go. 2 times 7 is going to be 14. 14 is the least common denominator. So we're going to multiply everything by 14 over 1. Okay, and our first set is going to reduce to 1 and 7, and then 7 times 3x is 21x, plus, and then this will reduce to 1 and 2, and remember this 2 is getting distributed to both parts here. So this is going to be 2 times 8 is 16, and 2 times negative 4x is negative 8x equals 42. And so now we're going to add our like terms. 21x minus 8x is going to be 13x. I'm also going to go ahead and subtract this 16 while I'm here. And that's going to give me 26. Last step, we're going to divide by 13. So that's gone. And then x is going to equal, and 26 divided by 13 is 2. So we're done. X equals 2. The second concept in this lesson is overlapping triangles. So in this case, we have this small triangle ABC that is inside the larger triangle ADE. And when we see this, we can see that these are two similar triangles because B and D are congruent, C and E are congruent, and angle A is the same. Angle A equals angle A. So because of that, we can use this as if they were two separate triangles. And we can use all of that information with proportional statements to cross multiply and find our missing side. So let's add some numbers to this and let's try this out. A very important thing to remember with this lesson is that our sides for the longer triangle for AE and for AD is not just going to be 6 or just x. It's going to be 4 plus 6. It's this whole measure. And then also it's going to be 7 plus x. It's this whole thing. So that's an important thing to remember as we find missing sides and then finding what are x and y. But we do have all 3 measures for our smaller triangle, so that's going to help us. I'm going to put the smaller triangle numbers on top and the larger triangle numbers on the bottom. And so the one that we know is going to work for us is going to be this side because we have both measures. We know that for the smaller triangle, our measure is 4. And for the larger triangle, going from A to D, it's not 6, it's 4 plus 6, so it's 10. But because I know that, I can find y. The smaller triangle is a measure of 9, and the larger one is a measure of y. So now I can cross multiply, and I get 90 over 4 equals y. We need to reduce that. 90 divided by 2 is 45. So 45 over 2 is our missing measure. All right, so now we found y. X is going to take a little bit more work, so let's go ahead and reset. Okay, so again, I'm going to have the measure of the smaller triangle on top and the larger triangle on the bottom. So we have 4 over 10 equals, and then we have 7 for our smaller triangle. And for our larger triangle, I don't want to just put x. It's 7 plus x. And now I can cross multiply, and I'm going to get 70 equals, and I have to remember the 4 is getting applied to both parts. So this is going to be 28 plus 4x. Sorry, 1 second. So this is going to be 28 plus 4x, and we're going to move the 28. So that's gone. And we're left with 4x on this side, and then this is going to be 42, and then divide by 4. So this is gone, and x is going to equal 21 over 2. Okay. All right, so we're done. We found out what does x and y equal. They weren't asking for what is the measure of this side. They just wanted to know what x was, so we're done. All right, well that's it for lesson 24, dealing with fractional equations and then triangles inside of other triangles and using those proportional statements to help you find the missing sides of a triangle. So I hope this is very helpful for you guys. I'll see you in class.